If you want to find the secrets of the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. This is a very famous quote from the inventor and scientist Nikola Tesla. And in this video, we will take a deeper look on energies, on frequencies, and vibrations, and we are comparing the different perspectives from spirituality and from science. So I'm thrilled for this video. I hope you are too. Hello, I'm David, and welcome to my YouTube channel. At first, for clarifications, when I speak about spirituality, I never ever speak about religion. I speak about spiritual knowledge that got preserved and gained over a long period of time. I wanted to make a little bit of a different video today because I just feel this topic is so very important. I want to show you the similarities between the spiritual and the scientific perspectives and explain, or rather give my opinion on, why you should never neglect one of these sides completely. You know, many people perceive those two worlds as the complete opposites, but in fact they are the same. Both sides investigate natural phenomena with different methods, yes, and with a different language, yeah, but the results and the findings are the exact same. You know, the one is focusing on an objective outer reality and the other one on a subjective inner reality. So if you combine them, you will create a more holistic view on your reality. So I personally don't want to be just on one side of this. I mean, look back in time. Many of the greatest scientists ever lived were deeply spiritual. They managed to combine those sides and therefore were able to receive a complete different array of information. You know, take Einstein, take Max Planck, take Fleming, Schrödinger, Heisenberg, Galileo Galilei, Tesla as mentioned before, Isaac Newton, Niels Bohr, just to name a few. Many people from all over the world with different belief systems would sign the idea that we are all connected, that we are a collective, even though we don't know what that means and we don't understand in what strange way we are all connected, but it is broadly accepted that we are connected in a way. So this idea of separation is the real problem, and it is the reason why I made this video, and it is, in my opinion, the reason for so many problems we have in our modern world. Because it is one of the deepest roots, this idea of separation. It may be between races or between countries or even within ourselves. So when you look in nature, you know, you can see that everything works in symbiosis. Nothing can live or survive by itself or only on its own. It's always a co-creation, and we as human beings have to learn how to do that too. Our societies have a very immature conception right now. They are like a disease. Hollow goals like materialism, pervasive loneliness, and the constant pursuit of superficial success. This disconnection from each other and the natural world has left us feeling isolated. And we're only driven by competition rather than collaboration. To heal our societies, we need to cultivate awareness for ourselves, for each other, and for our ecosystem that sustains us. True progress lies in recognizing that we are intertwined and that personal fulfillment comes from contributing to something greater than ourselves. When we embrace our interconnectedness, we can redefine what it means to thrive. Not as individuals who are isolated, but as united and resilient collective. Okay, so now let's go to the core message of this video. So the main idea that we are going to examine in this video is, on the deepest level, every human being is a frequency, a certain vibration. What quantum physics shows us is that on a subatomic level, meaning on a level that is even smaller than atoms, particles behave more like waves than solid matter, constantly emitting out a frequency. So on a fundamental level, quantum mechanics reveals that everything we perceive as solid in our universe, by looking in deeply, becomes quite insubstantial. And that means that our interactions, so our thoughts, our emotions, even our physical form, can be perceived as vibrational energy patterns. What brings me to the next point, the conception we have of a human being. Human beings consist more of space than of matter. What does that mean again? I'll explain you. It's actually quite easy to understand. Think about an atom, yeah? You have the nucleus, the core of the atom, and then you have the cloud of electrons swirling around it. Imagine this nucleus, the core of the atom, would be the size of a pea. Then the closest electron would be 1 mile or 1.6 kilometers far away. Meaning an atom consists of 99.999996 or something like that % of free space. Meaning human beings consist of 99.999996% of free space. So when you would zoom in on us, we would be just a web and mainly of free space. So we are a net of constantly vibrating particles. So let's think about consciousness for a second. Neuroscience associates our brain waves, like the alpha, beta, and theta waves, with different states of consciousness. Even though we have no idea what consciousness is, but we're still able to measure certain frequencies, certain electromagnetic waves. And even though we don't know what consciousness is it local or is it collective? Are we tapping into it somewhere? Is there something like a soul? We have no clue, scientifically speaking. But on a spiritual note, or let's say half spiritual, half scientific, I would like to show you the scale of consciousness, which has been designed by Dr. David R. Hawkins using kinesiology and muscle testing. When you look at these two scales, you have the measured numbers I was talking about here and here. Those numbers represent the level of awareness. So you can see low levels of consciousness equals low frequencies equals a low life quality. So shame, for example, has a vibration calibrated at 20. If shame is your dominant vibration, your actual experience in life is a state of inaction. You can see here on the right. You find yourself in a predominant emotional state of humiliation, the view of life is miserable, the God view despising, and you are in a process heading towards elimination. So even though we don't know exactly what consciousness is, we can observe our lives and learn from the practical side. So I just wanted to show you this real quick because the scale of consciousness is very helpful, or has been very helpful for me to navigate myself better through the world and to understand myself much better. Which, knowing yourself, understanding yourself is in many spiritual traditions like the highest form of wisdom that you can acquire. Okay, back to the science. What we know, our body has a constant energy field surrounding it. It's an electromagnetic field. And this electromagnetic field consists of thermal energy, of acoustic energy, and more subtle energy fields. The strongest electromagnetic fields and waves are being emitted by our brain and by our heart. And measures have shown that the electric waves from our heart are 100 times stronger than the one from the brain, and the magnetic waves more than 5,000 times stronger. And again, here we have a similarity, because so many spiritual practices and schools are putting an emphasis on use your heart as your magnet. Your heart is your strongest magnet to attract the things that you want to draw into your life, And I personally found in my experience that this is very true. For example, think about the concept of letting go. The more I was able to let go, the degree to which I was able to let go, the same degree I would receive that certain thing. Let's say, a practical example, you're dating someone and you constantly have this needy energy around you, this needy energy of I want this person, or I want to sleep with this person, or whatever. The other person can feel it and is directly repelled by it, because we just embody this certain energy. But the less I was attached to receive a certain outcome in dating, the more natural everything could flow and the more successful I became. And the same with success or money. The secret is really striving without attachment to whatever you want to achieve in your life. That's why spiritual masters proclaim for centuries or for thousands of years to use your heart and to implement emotions in every process of manifestation or visualization or whatever imaginary process there is, because you just infuse it with more energy. You should use your heart magnet, so to speak. In fact, all of these earlier concepts have been said by spiritual masters a long time ago, that human beings are a web of free-flying particles, that we are constantly vibrating. Like, all these things are there, all along. So I think it's just insane not to even have a look at it, But yeah, the really cool thing about it is that science now is able to measure it and to prove it on a basis of evidence, that all these ancient ideas and concepts are actually true, or that, let's say, they become, those two worlds, they find their way now and they become more alike. Slowly but surely. It will take some time, but this is the direction we're heading. And again, to me, it just shows it is all the same. The same phenomenons are being investigated with different methods and a different language, but the results are the same, which is beautiful, But it stands exactly against this feeling of society that we're all separated. This is just an immature position and the root of so many problems, and it will be outdated soon enough. I don't know if it takes 100 years or 1,000 years till we realize this, but we are all connected. This is the truth that needs to be acknowledged. And as long as we don't do that, as long as there are borders and as long as there is ownership and so many other problems you could name now, as long we will have to suffer. Anyway, I got a little bit sideways here, so let's get back to the topic. So let's have a look at the word person next. The word person comes from the Latin word persona. And the persona, I always thought, was just a social mask, a social identity, and a certain character we embody, like our social roles, so to speak. But what I recently learned is that the word persona originated from an ancient mask, a physical mask that actors wore in theater plays in ancient Rome, for example. So that's how they look. Those masks were designed in such a way that they would change the face and amplify the voice of the actor and help him to direct the sound towards a certain direction. So it was basically a tool to control your sound waves. And the word personare means, directly translated, to resonate or to sound through. I think that's very interesting because, those words aren't there by accident. In general, ancient civilizations, they were fascinated with frequencies, energies, and vibrations. Take mathematician Pythagoras for a second. He analyzed and investigated certain strings and found out a numeral logic and codes within music, and then concluded that the whole universe was in a constant state of harmony and vibration. He called it cosmic harmony. We couldn't hear or perceive this vibration, but still they're here. And this is another point where spirituality and science are perceiving our reality very similarly, you know, especially in quantum physics and wave mechanics, and even in the string theory, even though this one is a bit more speculative. In Eastern philosophy also, sound was seen as the one and the deepest creative force. Sounds like the Om or certain mantras were believed to align individuals with universal vibrations. So the Qi or Qi is broadly accepted as a universal energy that flows towards and through all things. So people in Asia or in China, they meet up in groups of thousands of people and practicing Qigong, a movement technique which is designed to utilize the natural energy in and around us. Maybe that's another reason why China rises so rapidly, because they are accepting this energy around us, even though they cannot measure it, but you can feel it. So on the deepest level, you are a frequency, a vibration, and that's the reason why music can change your state so quickly and so effectively. I mean, think about a song you maybe don't like and realize how your whole body is like rejecting it. It's the same with food, you know. When you smell that something is not good anymore, your whole senses are signalizing you, don't put this in your body, don't put this in your system. And it's the same with the frequency of music, you know. You don't want to enter certain vibrations in your system. Your body wants to protect you from those low frequencies. On the other hand, of course, high frequencies can be greatly influencing your whole system. They can give you energy or joy or determination, or they can even heal you. Certain vibrations can even heal you. The number one example for this are the Icaros. And the Icaros can be roughly translated as the magic songs. They belong to the language family of Quechua. I hope I said this right. And they stem from countries around the Amazon rainforest. For example, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia. And those Icaros are used in shamanic rituals or ceremonies to heal individuals, you know, in certain ayahuasca ceremonies, for example. So the shaman or curandero who works with the sacred plant medicines, he is able to see the energetic web within and around you. And this energetic web consists of fractal patterns and geometric patterns, and is, you know, it looks in a certain way. So when the curandero is looking at you and he sees, I mean, he probably sees it with his third eye and not with his actual eyes, I would imagine, but he can see any blocks or imbalances or distractions within your web, within your energy net, and then he can correct it with these Icaros, with those magic songs in the ayahuasca ceremony later. So I know maybe for some of you that sounds unbelievable, but I can give you an example from my own experience. When I flew to South America in the beginning of 2024, we had like a talk with the shaman before our first ceremony. So we could speak about our intentions and to prepare us for the ceremony. And the shaman looked at me, and the first thing he said, because I was just actually in a breakup when I flew there, and the first thing he said to me was, "Your heart just got broken." I never have spoken to him before. "Your heart just got broken." And I was just like, surprised, and I was like, okay, that you hit the nail on the head with this. Then he just looked at me with all this love and said, your heart is something very precious. You cannot give it to everybody. You have to protect it. It's very, very valuable. And yeah, that's because he could see it. You know, he could literally see the disturbance here. And I was really destroyed, you know, because of this breakup. So I believe he could see it. I mean, I experienced it. Okay, so back to the Icaros. Imagine you sit in the ayahuasca ceremony, or you lie there and you're going through your process, and at some point the shamans maybe surround you, you know, and then you have like 3 shamans around you from all angles, and then they're singing those Icaros songs to you, which are emitting from like a very deep part of the throat, you know. It's a very unique frequency, and then they're singing, you know, from all angles, and this vibration, this just hits you from every direction, and that's how they bring this energetic web in alignment again. So this healing practice, it's just so different than the Western approach. But I mean, I've met quite a lot of people who did ayahuasca so far, and it was life-changing for almost everyone. And yeah, I personally think for psychological and emotional issues, it's the most superior medicine we can find on this planet. These practices are the heritage of humanity, you know. Those healing practices are thousands, up to 10,000, maybe even more years old. And they're so superior than our Western approach, you know. We just put people with emotional or psychological damage or conditions in a prison, in a psychiatric ward, and we fill them up with drugs all the time. You know? But then the Western philosophy, despite being 200 years old, declares with like a childlike arrogance that this whole human heritage and this whole other approach is complete bullshit. What the fuck? You know, this is doing such a big disservice to everyone who truly looks for healing and who is really suffering. And from my own experience, I can just tell you from my heart, if you have the slightest calling towards a plant medicine healing journey, or towards a learning journey, or if you're like more like a seeker, you should really listen to that call and act. You know, be smart about it, make your research, check which places are trustworthy. And if you don't know which ones are, just write me and I can tell you, you know. So yeah, I really would take those calls if you have them seriously. To conclude this video, finally, science and spirituality are perceived as 2 different worlds, even though they're interconnected deeply. So as I mentioned in the beginning, science focuses on an outside objective reality and spirituality on an internal subjective reality. Bring them together, combine them, and you will create a more holistic view about literally everything. Personally, I think and feel that it's very stupid to dismiss one of these sides completely and to ignore this whole human heritage we're sitting on. Given the fact that when we're completely honest, we don't know anything. Of course, there are stupid and arrogant people everywhere, but to everyone else, I would like to share: stay open-minded and embrace your inner child by being curious, because that should be a key value for truly achieving knowledge and wisdom. So, I thank you all very much for watching. If you are still here, this was quite a long one, but it was great fun. Yeah, I would be thrilled if you could give me your opinion, your wisdom, or anything else you would like to share about this topic. I love talking with you guys. I say it in every other video. Please write me some comments. Yes, it helps me with engagement for the videos, but I really enjoy talking with you. So yeah, aside from that, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, activate the bell, and if you would like to see a video about me living almost 100 days in a forest and sharing my key learnings from that extreme experience, you can click here. Thank you very much and goodbye. Imagine sleeping every single night in a dark forest, alone. No walls, no roofs, completely exposed to storms, so falling branches, falling trees, wild nocturnal animals. That was my reality for almost 100 days.